Zachman's framework for enterprise architecture. Developed in the 80s by John Zachman at IBM, Zachman felt that classical architecture and engineering processes had similar approaches and involved three different perspectives. One, that of being of data and raw materials. Secondly, functions or processes. And then thirdly, location or networks. Essentially, it was a matrix to explain, outline, describe complex structures, organizations, thinking, and areas of classification such as business, construction, technology, etc. If we were to break down the framework, we would see that there are three components. One, that of being rows, columns, and cells, and each represented the individual flow of each process. Each cell builds upon itself to get the end result. Viewing the framework from the top to the bottom, the top being the broad view or the perspective of the business or project from the outside, and then works its way down to a more detailed view and perspective of the business from the inside, such as the employees and raw materials. The rows represent the views of the perspective of the given classification, such as builder, planner, designer, etc. The columns represent particular focus and ask the all-important fundamental questions: what, how, where, when, who, and why. What being the data description, how being the actual function or process, where is the location or network, who is being the human resource aspect, when is there a specific completion date or time, and why being the desire or drive behind the goal or project. The cells are basically the actual representation of the specifics of the processes and are an attempt to fill in any gaps that might exist or overlooked. The first row is a broad perspective or scope or planner view. It essentially explains the broad stroke of the organization, the information that we would basically need to explain the business structure or process, say to an investor or even a banker, so to speak. The business model or owner view represents the perspective of the business owner or the project leader and explains the actual dynamics of the process, such as the human resources involved, the manufacturing process, and the actual business strategy. System model or design, the next third explains what it takes to take it from paper to function. A flow chart, so to speak, to explain how the actual business processes flow. Possibly taking it from, breaking it down to more simpler terms in terms of the manufacturing process, the actual, what it may take in terms of your customer service process, getting people in and out and flow of the actual business that you're working on. The fourth is the technology or model or builder's view. Represents basically what the actual contractor is looking at. It's taking the designs of the architecture and putting it in a contractor's viewpoint, sort of like a blueprint, if you will. And what it does is it translates what tools, hardware, technology is going to be needed in order to be able to complete the specifics of the job. Last and finally, of the perspectives, the detailed representations. Basically, this now breaks it down to the nitty-gritty, basically the subcontractor's view. It actually looks at each pieces of the puzzle, such as the plumber, the electrician, or even such as the programmer on the lower end who just is working on a small portion of that project, which is much larger of a software building project or even network. So basically what Zachman has done is he's looked at all processes involved and has realized that basically there are 36 pieces to the puzzle, and all these pieces represent a specific of the action within the framework, or whether it's the network, a system, or specific technology. Over the years there have been other specific frameworks that have been designed, particularly that have been built upon from that have been such from the federal government and DOD and etc. But none have come close to what Zachman has basically accomplished in explaining all of this. So this is basically Zachman's perspective in a nutshell.